Hi everyone, welcome. Apologies about that, just had to do a bit of shuffling. And yes, welcome to the launch of Royalty, which I'll be doing a live reading of very, very shortly. Just going to give people a chance to jump on. Any questions you have while I'm reading, please feel free to put them in the chat and I will answer them as I go. So yeah. So, yes, give it one more minute. Okay. Cool. I'm going to get started. So, welcome to the online launch of Royalty, my new pamphlet. It's come about basically from events this year, the coronation. It kind of got me thinking, as well as some personal events with some health issues that I had. So I started looking at things like, just general things in health. So I started looking at sort of the benefits of drinking tea and especially green tea. So that's what I started off with. And then as I was doing that, and then obviously with the coronation that came about, I kind of saw there was a synergy between tea and the monarchy and Britishness and how that they could be linked. And it just started, the flows of inspiration just started to come, and I put them into this pamphlet, which has been launched today. So you can get the copies directly from myself on my website, sarahhobbspoetry.co.uk, or directly through Amazon. It's available on there as well. So I'm just going to get into it, and I'm going to read the first poem. And this one's called Flowering, and it is for King Charles III. Floral notes dance across taste buds, every petal denoting new flavors. Intoxicating aromas permeate nostrils and awaiting senses. In time, it blossoms, opening up, bringing itself to the fore, its infusion touching longing lips. Every drop arrives, punctual, with a new, refreshing intensity. Thank you. What I will be doing after I've read the poems, I will be going through and telling you why I was able to match them with the various monarchs as well. So match the teas with the various monarchs. So that'll be after I've read the poems. Oolong, Elizabeth II. Brewed for longer than any other, infamous and illustrious. This extra special blend, this infusion of flavor, will have a lingering nostalgia, memories being summoned, its effects bringing smiles, its taste savored on palates, drunk by prime ministers, presidents, and dignitaries, left feeling satisfied and fulfilled, left understanding Britishness in every drop, in every cup. Earl Grey, Edward VIII. A prince not aligned for majesty, more than the sum of its parts, substantial in its own design, its flavors complex, misconstrued, a deep tang left within mouths, one that lingers unforgotten, the effects still felt years later. Matcha, Queen Victoria. Robustness stands the test of time, much more than a fine vintage wine. For sure it takes a lot to impress this queen, our dowager princess. Her palate knows no bounds, her decision made profound. With this cup she'll be amused, the leaves inside perfectly brewed. Censure, George II. Take a deep breath, take it in, the sea air engulfing your lungs as each sip slowly settles within. Roar Britannia, roll the waves. Sultry, sharp, seaweed notes guide drinkers over waves, lapping over and over each other. Rule Britannia, rule the waves. Freshness, fierceness, forces its way through other senses. Dregs sink into murky depths. Rule Britannia, rule the waves. Hibiscus. William III, Duke of Orange. A touch of the exotic fills the English throne. Citrus notes tantalize tongues, new infusions intoxicating, sending new sensations across taste buds. Subtle refreshing hints takes drinkers on their own juicy journeys. From sip to sip, a tartness forms on lips, growing like grapevines. Black forest undertones enriching their essence. Who knew this could be fashioned from an English throne? Lapsang Souchong, Charles II. Fire, fire, fire! There's an inferno ablaze, engulfing my cheeks. Smoke-filled nostrils with central notes licks the rooftop. Sensations cascading over gullet's ridge. Heat subtly warming as the blaze waves greetings to vocal cords. Only smouldering embers solely remain. Pinhead gunpowder, James I. There's something afoot, a dastardly plot in the works. Something's not right, a darkness brewing in the waters. Down in the depths, a path laid out in whole, earthy, musky scent, revealing its truth in its warcraft. Remnants ravaged, bitterness the final taste, in final wastelessness. Chai, Elizabeth I. A journey travelled, the tropical tang lingers, a new-found agitation, starchy in form, cloudy in appearance, observing flavours of spice seeping through. Stale smoke smoulders, igniting the infusions, bubbling to the surface, newly discovered, brought from distantly travelled lands. Peppermint, Henry VIII. Hunger and thirst never sated, never-ending excess desire, cup after cup downed, tempers flare, angers rise, boiling to the brim, another cup demanded, again and again. Jasmine, Edward IV. It calls to me, pulling me closer, the alluring aroma's arrival, with its intoxicating scent permeating my senses. Blonde in its damp exterior, golden flecks show themselves dancing across the surface, enticing my parched lips to take sip from this elixir. Temptation too much to resist. White tea. Henry VI. Infantile, young, fresh, refreshing approach, with youthful fragrance permeating through watery swill, lashing within cheeks. Regents protect its infused secrets. Adolescent anecdotes fill my bulging cups, swirling with unspoken truths, a refreshing uniqueness. Black tea. Edward the Black Prince. Dark, brooding, seductive leaves, hiding their infiltrating intent, the plan of attack on the senses laid out in all its richness. Smooth negotiations cross taste buds, leading to caramel formations as the amber regiments march, assaulting the nerves receptors. Message received, loud and clear. Pure, Edward I, Longshanks. Enlightened royalty reigns, aging with assured dignity, ensuring a lasting legacy with intimidating aromas, complexity in its intentions, dark and slowly brewing, leathery sip after sip for future campaigns, subtly spurred on with precisely prepared plans, leading to immortality. Builders. Henry III. Foundations upon foundations, standing solidly tall and proud, constructed texture, dark, bold, and strong, full to the brim of the sky above, overlooking all. The sun rising far away in the east, the day calling us to assemble. Shrines to the divine, to him, do not build themselves, but are raised from cups of leaves, drank by royal and holy men, their calling from the Almighty. Green, Henry I. The body is a temple. It is treated as such. No meat, no extras, no feasts. Health the priority. Just plants, just vegetables, just dairy. Consumed in very small portions. Meat only on special occasions. A green liquor to quench thirst, improving digestion following a meal is permissible. Yellow, Edgar I, the peaceful. Cool, calm, chilled, relaxed, sure, mellow, tranquil, still, collected, serene, stolid, amicable, gentle, warm, pleasant, affable, kindly, gracious, liberal, airy, breezy, carefree, natural, jaunty, cordial, uninhibited, banal, tender, warm, eager, hearty, sincere, caring, welcome, fond, amiable, genuine, likable, obliging, nice, friendly, benign, informal, open, amenable, natural, civil, outgoing, warm-hearted, affectionate, hospitable. Now this is one of my favorite ones because it looks really cool on the page. It's like the peace symbol. So that was one of my favorite ones to write. And the final one, Darjeeling. Alfred the Great. One of a kind, revered, known throughout history as one of the greatest, setting the standard for teas yet to come, their taste foretold. Greatness in every decisive full cup, quenching thirsts. Its legendary flavour recorded in annals of time gone by. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go through and actually go through the rationales, which are actually included. They're included in the book as well. So I've laid them all out here so that you can see how I've been able to match them and what my thought process were for each one. And this was done actually by the Tea Makers of London. Their website has a lot of information on it on each variety of tea. So I was able to use that when writing each poem, as well as sounding out and getting the advice of a good poet friend of mine called Lizzie Lee, the tea poet, who actually really, really helped. And we had a really good chat about sort of the teas that I was matching and the monarchs and sort of why I was doing it and stuff. So that's all in the book and in the pamphlet as well. But I'm going to go through the poems I have included and why I was able to match the teas to the monarchs that I did. So the first poem was called Flowering. And I chose this type of tea for our current reigning monarch. And this was due to his passion for horticulture and the environment, really. And it just worked really, really well. So that was kind of a nice one to be able to match, really. And the second poem, Oolong. So it's really all in the name. I mean, Elizabeth II, she's the longest reigning monarch. So it kind of just played really nicely to the name of the tea and played really nicely with the name. And then, was able to work in the notes and, of that tea, that variety. Earl Grey, again, Edward VIII. He abdicated shortly after becoming monarch. Therefore, he resigned the title of king, and it played really nicely with the term Earl. So I thought that worked really nice for him and for that type of tea as well. It kind of suited each other. again, has that symbiotic kind of relationship as well, which is nice. Matcha. So again, before Elizabeth II, Victoria was our longest reigning monarch. And, like Matcha, she's very robust, self-assured. And again, this is evidenced in her quote that she says, we are not amused. So I think, that played really nicely to her. Censure, again, when researching that tea, and what struck me was the notes of sea. The sea that came through. And when I was researching monarchs at the time of George II, that was when the British Navy was really at the fore. It was really known as one of the world's greatest naval countries. So again, that played really nice with the flavorings and the depth of that tea. Hibiscus, again, this is just a play. Obviously, hibiscus is quite citrusy, quite fruity. So it worked quite nice with the tang, and obviously with William of Orange, and the play on actually the title and the name of William of Orange. So again, it was a foreign house that came into the monarchy. So it was a different type of monarchy. It was a change, so it was something new, refreshing. So that's kind of where I went with that. Lapsang Souchong. Again, what stood out was the notes of fire, of char, of burning, and again, that's what struck out to me when I was researching that type of tea. So it lent itself really nicely to the Great Fire of London, and the monarch at the time was King Charles II. So obviously it might not be directly influenced by him, but it was actually very key to his reign as monarch. And the same goes for the next one. So pinhead gunpowder, the gunpowder plot, Guy Fawkes, James I and the Houses of Parliament, it all tied in really nicely. So chai, again, this was more exotic, so something quite different. And when I was looking at this, I was thinking, how am I going to match this to a British monarch? But actually, at the time of Elizabeth I, there was a lot of trade, there was a lot of export, there was, a lot of finding new lands, finding new worlds, and bringing new flavors back to Britain. So I think that played really nice, actually, and was able to lend itself quite nicely to that variety of tea. Peppermint. So now that's usually taken after a meal, and it's kind of as a cleansing of the palate, refreshment, that kind of thing. And it matched really nicely with probably our most gluttonous and notoriously gluttonous king, Henry VIII, who loved, feasting, revelry, all that kind of stuff. So that lent itself really nicely to him. Jasmine, again, is very known for its kind of colouring, so very, very kind of blonde and yellow in nature. So probably, and it has that alluring kind of flavour. So actually, going through history, our most attractive monarch is probably Edward IV. He was quite known to be quite the charmer. He was blonde, from the House of York, so it lent itself really nice to the tea. White tea is considered quite young, quite juvenile, but with a refreshing note. And I think that's when I looked, and Henry VI was actually 8 months old when he came to the throne, and had his, the Duke of Bedford as his regent at the time. So I think that kind of lent itself really nicely to the tea, because the tea is quite young, quite juvenile, but it's also quite refreshing. So that worked really, really well. So black tea. So in the 14th century, it was a prince called Edward the Black Prince. Never actually became monarch. He actually died before his father, but he was known for his military prowess and, great battles and things like that. So, and his strategy. So again, it lent itself really nicely to the brew in terms of the name, but also in his actions and what he's known for. Pure is quite a complex tea. So I kind of match this with Edward Longshanks, who again was quite a complex individual, very durable, trying to sort of stand the test of time, it's kind of have a leatheriness in its flavor, and is known as the Buddha of teas. It wants that longevity, wants that infamy, and I think definitely Edward Longshanks got that. Builders, so Henry III is known as the Builder King, and that's primarily due to the construction of 18 chapels while he was monarch. But actually, probably the most famous is Westminster Abbey during his reign. And again, so it makes sense to match it to him, because obviously Builders Tea we associate with modern builders, but actually it stands the test of time. Building has been throughout history. So again, a really nice one. Green, so green tea is very considered quite health conscious, very good for the health, and something that I was researching personally. So actually being able to match this to a monarch like Henry I, who at the time, yes, he had that. He wasn't known for his feast. He wasn't known for sort of excess or anything like that. Flexitarian, vegetarian in nature. He only ate meat on special occasions. And yes, at the time it was hard to come by. But at the same time, he wasn't overly known for exaggeration and, going over the top. So I think that lent itself quite nicely there. Yellow tea, again, this is quite mellow and subtle in its flavour. And it matched really, really well with Edgar I, the Peaceful. That's what he was known as. And again, when I wrote it, it was probably one of my favourite ones to write, because it's very visual on the page with the peace sign. I'll show it again. So that was one of my favourite ones to write. And again, you once you have a sip of that tea, you'll feel quite peaceful yourself as well. So again, a nice one to match. Darjeeling is probably one of the most popular and well-known blends of tea, and probably one of the most well-established. And I wanted to give it the notoriety as well within the collection that it deserved as well. And I think matching it with Alfred the Great it just lent itself so nicely, because we know Alfred the Great, even though he reigned in the 900s, during the time of the Vikings, brought Britain together as we know it. He's probably one of our most well-known, well-established kings, and that's why I wanted to match it with Darjeeling, one of the most well-known teas. So again, it just, the synergy just worked really, really well. So that's Royal Tea, and it's available now on my website and through Amazon. And if you want a signed copy, you can also select that as an option on my website, and I can sign it for you. But yes, please feel free to comment on this video, press subscribe, and I'll be doing some more lives. May even get some other people in to sort of talk to me about the book and do other sort of talks and things. And yes, I am just so glad that I'm able to have this book now, share it with you, and just share what I've been able to sort of find out over the last few months, and just research and sharing my findings with you, which has been great. So yeah, I don't think there's any comments. Let me just check the comments 1 second. No, I can't see any. If you do have any questions, please do put them in the comments and I will answer. And yes, thank you for tuning in, and I will catch you next time. Take care, good evening, and have a Merry Christmas.